Hi there, and welcome to The Daily Gardener, an almanac of garden history, literature, and small botanical joys. I'm Jennifer Ebling, and today is March 13th. In the garden, the late bloomers are often the strongest ones. They wait, they survive the cold, they open when the season is ready for them. Today's stories follow women just like that, because the garden knows something we forgot. A life can change direction in the middle. A second season can open at any time. A new self can take root. And sometimes the brightest work arrives after the first plan fell apart. Here's today's garden history. It was on this day in 1883 that the American botanist Susan Delano McKelvey was born. Susan began in one world: money, pedigree, expectation. She was educated, well-connected, comfortably placed inside New York society. And then, in her mid-30s, her life cracked open. Her marriage ended, one of her sons died, and the future she had been moving toward quietly collapsed. So Susan did something radical. She left New York and went to Boston with no clear plan except this: begin again. She walked in to the Arnold Arboretum at Harvard and asked to volunteer. Not as a benefactor, not as a scholar, as a worker. She washed clay pots in the greenhouses. She weeded. She learned plant names the way you learn a new language, slowly, aloud, with dirt under your nails. You can almost hear it: the heavy hose on a gravel floor, the clink of terracotta stacked by hand, the hush of a Boston winter outside the glass. It wasn't the life she was born into. It was the life she chose. And sometimes the best version of ourselves is the one we have to work for in the dirt. From that beginning, Susan became the authority on two entirely different worlds of plants. First, lilacs. In 1928, Susan published The Lilac, a monograph, a massive, defining work on syringa, or lilacs. It didn't just celebrate lilacs. It brought order to a beloved spring frenzy. It gave gardeners a shared vocabulary for what they were growing and why it mattered. And then Susan turned her gaze west, to heat, distance, and difficult ground, to yucca. Between 1938 and 1947, her two-volume study, Yuccas of the Southwestern United States, pulled these plants out of the category of curiosity and into serious botanical understanding. Susan once described herself with delight as a cactus enthusiast and an agave one as well. And then, as if that weren't enough, Susan spent years assembling a final monumental work: Botanical Exploration of the Trans-Mississippi West, 1790 to 1850, published in 1956. More than 1,000 pages of explorers, specimens, roots, and first names written onto the land. A late bloomer. Not late at all, just willing when the door finally opened. And it was on this day in 1916 that the French designer Nicole de Vésian was born. Nicole reminds us that gardening is design, yes, but it's also editing, restraint, discipline, devotion to the shape of a place. After a decade working as a textile designer for Hermès, Nicole left fashion behind and moved to Banyue in Provence. There she created a garden she called La Louve, the she-wolf. The name came from local lore, the story of the last wolf once taken in that landscape, a nod to wildness, endurance, and survival. La Louve was built of terraces and stone, a narrow palette of plants, lavender, rosemary, boxwood, clipped and clouded into sculptural forms. It earned the designation Jardin Remarquable, or Remarkable Garden. It's a national recognition awarded by France's Ministry of Culture. But what made La Louve unforgettable was how lived in it felt. Stone steps worn by use, stone benches placed where you'd naturally pause, basins, containers, gardens shaped for the human body, not just the eye. Nicole believed gardens revealed themselves slowly. She once said, "Use a chair to sit in a garden when planning. A garden should be seen seated." In Nicole's work, that chair becomes a kind of measure, a way of noticing how light moves, how wind shifts scent, how a place settles into itself over time. And Nicole believed aligned gardeners will want to carry with them. Pruning is not control, but care. At 80 years old, after selling La Louve, Nicole said simply, "It's time to begin again." Late bloom doesn't always mean abundance. Sometimes it means clarity, green, stone, light, and the patient hand. In today's Unearthed Words, we hear an excerpt from the British botanical artist Marjorie Blamey, born on this day, March 13th, in 1918. Marjorie's botanical illustrations helped generations see wildflowers as alive, not merely identified. Marjorie insisted on painting from life, fresh specimens only. Her refrigerator, and sometimes even the bathtub, filled with plants waiting their turn. Marjorie worked fast because she had to. When you have 500 flowers, she said, you have to do 20 a day before they wilt. And here's her line, brisk, exacting, and completely hers. "I make flowers look alive, not like pressed dead things." That sentence carries a whole philosophy, not just about art, but about focus, about refusing to let beauty become a specimen. It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, Southern Women, Southern Landscapes, by Judith W. Page and Elise L. Smith. As we wrap up our celebration of Women Gardeners Week on the Daily Gardener, this book stands at the center of the conversation. It's a study of land as biography, of gardens as places where identity, labor, and resistance take root together. Page and Smith move through the South as a storied landscape, where women used the earth to claim agency during times of war, restriction, and upheaval. Southern Women, Southern Landscapes offers 3 lasting gifts. First, we see the garden as biography. It's an invitation to see your own plot not as a chore or a design problem, but as a living record of who you are and what you've endured. Second, it's the power of placemaking, honoring women, black and white, who shaped belonging from soil when society offered them very little room. And third, the chain of connection. Gardening has never been solitary. It is shared labor, passed down through quiet persistence across generations. This book reminds us that when you put your hands in the soil today, you are touching a longer story. And finally, here's something sweet to ignite the little botanic spark in your heart. It was on this day in 1886 that the American botanist Lilla Irvin Leach was born. Lilla was the kind of botanist you can picture instantly. Boots, pressed specimens, a horizon that kept widening. Lilla and her husband John built a life around fieldwork and eventually created what became the Leach Botanical Garden in Portland, Oregon. But here's the moment that lingers. In 1930, in the Siskiyou Mountains, Lilla spotted a plant she had never seen before, Kalmiopsis leakiana. She started running toward it. And when she reached it, she dropped to her knees. She wrote, "I had never seen anything so beautiful before." John won Lilla's heart by promising to take her places no cake-eating botanist would go. They traveled with 2 burros, Pansy and Violet, and carried presses and gear through rough country. It's easy to imagine the steady rhythm of those journeys. Bells faint in the distance, dust on boots, and the long patience of walking. Not the trophy, not the naming, just a human being meeting a plant she didn't know existed. Until it did. As we close the show today, remember, a late bloom isn't a consolation prize. It's a second opening, a truer season arriving. Susan started with washed pots and ended with a library of authority. Nicole changed a hillside into a place where she could finally breathe again. Marjorie refused to paint anything that looked dead, and Lilla fell to her knees for a flower the world was quietly holding. So if you feel like you're starting late, or if your first plan fell apart, don't worry. The garden is patient. Your second season is just beginning to bud. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener. And remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day.